yeah, blessings, happy Thursday to each and everyone. Good day, greetings to the world again. Happy to be back again in the space. But match ratings, I'm going to rate the players and give my my own opinion on their performances and stuff like that. But people, I just want to give you guys the utmost respect again, for continue to support the Nicardo Media House Channel, continue to support, the Morning Inside. I really appreciate it. But um we still we still a rave upon the press officer. Free the youth them, don't get tied down yourself, don't get frightened because some money are coming and sponsorship and them with the JFF and the youth them deserve them respect just like how any other people apply for media pass and get a credit for media pass. The youth them deserve them respect. So whereas I say continue, Mr. Simon, Gensec, the acting Gensec, step in and see what can go on and help the youth them, help the YouTubers and see what can happen. But again, man, moving on, match ratings, and it's going to be quick. Yeah, it's going to be quick. Big up the doubles boys again, we're still there on that train there where we're still at banter the Trinidadian fans. Yeah, man, we're still at banter the Trinidadian fans, but you gotta work harder. But match ratings, look, Jamal Wade been facing a lot of criticism, around the space. A lot of fans, is not really happy with Jamal Wade with his performance. And his performance is, in both, you would say in both games, away in Bermuda, at home, inside of the office. It wasn't the best, and for a goalkeeper to to get a back-to-back clean sheet, he made a few saves in the games as well. I will give him a 7 in terms of the mistakes that he make in the game, giving back the ball to the opponent team. But you have to give keepers credit when they do have clean sheet, especially a back-to-back clean sheet in the crucial phase of the World Cup qualifier. Not many keeper can have that. Look, Costa Rica, big old Kayla Navas conceded 3 times at home versus 80. So, a lot of stuff happening around, the other groups. So you have to give Jamal with a lot of respect. But we want to see him sharpen up on his tools, and certain stuff that happened in the game, on Tuesday. It did happen, in the Copa America, but I think he was a lot more solid, in the Copa America. If you go back to, I think we played Danrep, one of those teams back home, in the World Cup qualifier in the early phase of the rounds, he did make a few mistakes. I'm just wondering, like, what the hell is going on, with Jamal Wade? Why is he, making, these mistakes over and over? But again, when you look at, Andre Blake, of, goalkeeper been keeping for the reggaeboyz, for over a decade now, I mean, it's hard to replace a keeper like that, one of the best in his generation in the MLS. He's one of the best. So it's going to be hard, but when you look at Andre Blake of not being around inside between the 2 sticks for the national team, the level drop way below. So we're going to need goalkeepers. If you look at the third string goalkeeper, who has been there for majority of the part, since this new coach, took over, of last year, Shaquan Davis. He's not up to standard. He's just not up to standard, and it shows in the Unity Cup that he's not up to the standard that he can be a number 2. He can even challenge for a top spot. When you have a national team that want to go to the next level, you have to make sure that, look, your number 3, 2 goalkeepers, they are fighting for a place, and it's not going to be a big drop off if one of them to replace the number 1 if he goes down injury or suspension. But again, I will give Jamal Wade a 7. If it wasn't for the clean sheet, I probably would give him a 5. But he needs to hold on to the football. And again, his kicking accuracy is not so bad. I remember when Andre Blake, his early days, he had problem with his kicking accuracy, but he got better over time, by doing, training, working on his technique. But, I will give Jamal Wade a 7. And Dexter, I think Dexter have been magnificent, to be honest. In this game, especially, he have been magnificent. Dexter Lemekisa, he was going up and down. He wasn't, getting ahead of himself. He wasn't getting beaten 1v1 versus Spicer in that Trinidad game. So I think it was a better outing for Dexter Lemekisa of what happened in that Gold Cup. Again, in the Gold Cup, the whole team just crumbled. So I will give Dexter Lemekisa, a 7.5. Yeah, I will give him a 7.5. And again, the defensive partnership of the two centre half, Damian Lowe and Richard King. Look, I would love to see less long balls. I mean, I want to see the ball played from the back. This is why the team play with midfielders, and this is why the midfield look like this. But I could see why Richard King tend to go longer time, because the players are literally hiding from the football. But again, when you talk about a defender in this squad that can ping a pass 50, 40 yards pass, it's Richard King. So again, I think Richard King, his position awareness at times is really poor. It's really poor, and that piece of action between Levi Garcia, where he scored that offside goal with Richard King, again, could he stayed on his feet? But a defender always want to go in and try to block that ball. Don't let his opponent get a shot towards the goal. But you can't really give much in of what Richard King did by not staying on his feet. Yeah, a defender will always go down. Any experienced striker will actually move that football away from that defender. But in other areas of the game, I do think Richard King needs to find himself into better position where he can be on top of the game, read the game a little bit more. Because look, as a defender, if you are not blessed with pace, you need to read the game properly. If you're not blessed with height, with the long balls, with the true balls, but the attacking players that's going to run through the channels, you're going to need to be in the right space. So again, position awareness, need to be there. And I will give Richard King, a 6.5. To be honest, I will give him a 6.5. Not much in the game, nothing really special. Yes, he tried to ping a few long balls to Ronaldo Cephas. It did happen in previous games, but not this one. Like, it was really accurate. But again, I could see the intention of Richard King. And Damian look almost give away a goal scored in the Bermuda game. Not much challenge. I think he was right up for the game. Someone that always give his 100% fighting spirit in around the team, try to make sure that look, he win every battle. But again, Damian Lowe is just I don't know, man. It's like he will have a perfect game, but somewhere in that game he will have a big mistake that is either going to cost us a goal or it almost cost us a goal. And it did happen where the goal scored, but guess what? It was offside. And Gregley, I'm a massive fan of Gregley of when he's playing for Oxford United, but I'm not seeing that Gregley for the national team. Yes, Gregley was up and down, but I need to see Gregley. Look, in this day and age of a fullback, you need to be doing it, on both sides of the pitch, in the attacking third, in the defensive third. And I think one of the wing backs in the ranks at this moment who is very good at 1v1, Gregley, but very strong, very fit, know to read the game. But sometimes, his lack of quality in the final third can really, hampered, our attacking players. In a player like Cephas, a player like Demarque would like the coverage of getting ahead of them at times. But which fullback will be getting ahead of Cephas when he get on that football and start the jets off and sprint? It's just not going to happen all the time. But I would love to see Gregley join that attacking in that final third a little bit more frequently, where he can give his wingers that license to go down the flank to get inside, and just to be that distraction towards the wing back for the opponent team. But again, nothing special from Gregley. Look, this group, we should be flying through this group. We should be playing a lot better. But again, you still have to look at the other stuff around the game, and 3 points is a must. I will give Gregley a 6.5. You might say I'm a little bit harsh, but no, this is just the reality. I need more from these players, especially coming up against Caribbean opposition teams, that we should be dominating these players. We should be dominating these teams around this group, especially in the Caribbean. So they're going to get marked hard, they're going to get graded hard. And Isaac Hayden, someone that, look, his presence is very important for this national team, to be in that space. And I think it was a okay game, but for me, I want to see my six be coming for that football, dictating that tempo, set the pace of the game, be the conductor for that midfield three. And we played a 4-3-3. They played a 4-4-2. They had Rampassard and Frederick doubles. Yeah, I don't know if it's Frederick too, but Frederick doubles. They had Frederick doubles and Rampassard playing as a holding in that 4-4-2. We should be dominating that football, and time I see in that game, Rampassard and Frederick is getting on the football, dictating the game, setting the pace, getting the tempo up for the Trinidad and Tobago team. And we had 3 players in that midfield, and at times the midfield seems like just one player in that midfield. The space and the gap was too much of space for the 2 older midfielders for the Trinidad and Tobago team to get in and run. And I'm saying, if we were playing a better opponent team just like we did in the Gold Cup, it would have been chaos in that midfield. So I think that midfield is still a big issue. And for his presence and his critical roles that and the stuff that he done in both games, especially in that Trinidad and Tobago game, I will give Isaac Hayden a 7, to be honest. It's not something over the top where he did spectacular performances, but again he did the basic. But I need to see him get on the football, coming for the football, getting the ball off Richard King feet, getting the ball off Damian Lowfoot, coming short, dictating the tempo, spreading the play, getting the team, the midfield and the tempo up. But again, it's a work in progress. Hopefully it can get better, which I don't see Isaac Hayden doing anything different than what he's doing now. I think what we asking for from a 6, I think he kind of lack a little bit of that quality, getting the ball with his back behind the opponent team, turning the half space. I don't think Isaac Hayden equipped to be that player. And John Russell, Casey Palmer, look, I will give John Russell a 7.5 for the goal that he scored. Casey Palmer, yes, he played. Casey Palmer will always have these games against Caribbean opponent team that going to back off, that not going to put a lot of pressure on him, and not going to have a lot of runners in the midfield. Look at what happened when we played the Panamanian team. Look what happened when we played the Guadalupe team, the Guatemala. These teams have runners in the midfield, and I come to realization that, look, Casey Palmer and John Russell, it's just not going to work in the midfield against the bigger boys. When you look at it, both players, they don't really want to track back. They are not the most, quickest players around the ground. They're not the quickest to close down the play. Yet John Russell he lack a little bit of speed. But again, the goals, this is what John Russell do in moments. You're not going to get the best, the nice, pretty, fancy, midfield play like you will see a Gavi, a Xavier in it. You're not going to see that. John Russell is like a Marouane Fellaini, someone that is just in the team naturally for his aerial presence and for his goal threats towards the goal. And he lack quality in that number 8 position, and I don't think John Russell with his quality that he can bring to any team, even Barnsley, John Russell should be playing as a 10. We should be having someone who is a little bit more mobile, who is a little bit more quick around the grounds, that can play in that number 8. Because look, Isaac Hayden lacks speed, John Russell lacks speed, Casey Palmer not the fittest, and I don't even want to go into the fitness yet. I mean, Isaac Hayden just played a few minutes for Queen's Park Rangers before he came on international duty. So again, you could say maybe Isaac Hayden is not up to the speed of where he want to be in around this stage of the season. But hopefully we can get a better game from Isaac Hayden in terms of a little bit more mobile, getting in more in the games, being a little bit more sharp. And I think probably 3-4 more games under his belt, he should be up to standard for the next game in terms of his fitness. But 7.5 for John Russell, and I will give Casey Palmer a 6.5. I want to see a lot more from them. And the wingers, Tyrese Campbell, look, many times we see Leon Bailey played out on that right hand side where we see lack of effort trying to get back and to help Dexter Lembekisa. We seen it on both ends. He tried to be in the attacking third. He tried to take on, I think it was Noah Powder. He tried to take him on. He tried to be a little bit like an X-factor player in that attacking third. But again, when it's time for him to trap back, he do help Dexter Lembekisa. I don't know it because they are a friend, they are such close age, but you could see the difference when a Tyrese are the different. Even when Norman Campbell got his moments in the last year in around the Nations League, he did trap back and he did help the wing back. Meanwhile, a luxury player like Leon Bailey, it will be very difficult for him to really track back. But again, I was Tyrese Campbell, what he did in that League One season campaign last time around 24-25 season, his number one priority is always taking on the opponent, taking on the defender, getting in around, get the box, get the ball inside of the box, be that X factor, be a little bit more dynamic in his play in the final third, getting that cutting edge around the wing back, especially, he naturally a left winger, but again, because of the pace, because of Ronald Cephas, not everyone going to get, Ronald Cephas position when he's in the starting level. So again, maybe he was playing out of position, but he was good, but he could have been a little bit more better in terms of, get more out of his gameplay in the final third. So I will give him a 6.5, especially he got a moment where he should have just shared the glory. I remember who it was. I think it was Kadamate who peeled off, I think he was going inside of the 6-yard box and he typically peeled off, Tyrese Campbell, where he could just lay the ball, in around the penalty area, and it would have been an easily 1-2. It could have easily been a tap in the box if that cross came the right way. Of Tyrese Campbell didn't really take that shot with his left foot, but that's just the nature of attacking players. At times they will be selfish. They will looking out for the best interests of themselves. And Ronald Cephas, the first 20 minutes, he was brilliant in the game. He was brilliant. I don't know if he ran out of steam, but this is the thing with Cephas. When things are not going his way, his attitude stinks on the football pitch. Yeah. When things are not going Cephas' way, his attitude stinks. But again, Ronald Cephas will be Ronald Cephas. And I think we kind of slightly overplayed Ronald Cephas on that left-hand side, where we just continue to give him the ball. Sometimes, especially of him not playing enough minutes, I don't know where his fitness is at this moment. A lot of the players in around the national team, they are not 100% fit and up to the standard of where they should be at this moment. So again, I think Ronald Cephas might run out of steam, or one of those challenges that happened between him, I think it was Cardines and Trinidad. Maybe he got a little bit of knock where he hurt himself, where he just couldn't do what Ronald Cephas does in that first game versus Bermuda. And Kadamateri, man, the difference with Kadamateri and Ashama Nicholson, Antonio, his presence in around the box. He's always want to be inside of the box. Yes, Kadamateri, his runs is threatening, his pace, his power. He always want to bully his defender, but look at how he prevail and look at how he succeed and proceed on that challenge. Remove the defender away and took his goal, and that's what a striker does. Understand? But Kadamateri, the difference I see with Kadamateri and Roman Burley did it in the Nations League. No, Roman Burley did it in the Unity Cup as well, where he stay in the channel of where, as a goal poacher, he always be in around the box. Whenever the ball is in a dangerous position, Kadamateri and Roman Burley always in around the box. Meanwhile, it's different for different strikers, but I mean, that's it for the match ratings for the starting level. And I do like Kerry Anderson came off the bench. I think he came off the bench and he tried to set the tempo. He tried to show for the football. He tried to dictate the game. And I'm just hoping that, look, I know Kerry Anderson have quality like this, but can he play a 90-minute like this? Or he's just a player that when we need the game to see out the game, to come on and just to get the game away from the opponent team. Maybe he is that player. And again, Bowser off the bench, Kyan Dixon off the bench. Look, Kyan Dixon is just a live wire, man. You just cannot take that away from Kyan Dixon. Dixon is just a live wire, man. What more, you guys need to see that you cannot compare Dixon with anyone in the national team. You just cannot compare Dixon. Dixon is unmatched to anybody inside of the national camp. You understand? So again, time and time I even heard the story about Tyrese Campbell playing at a higher level. Both players are at the same club. Tyrese Campbell should be starting over Dixon. Look, Dixon is a man of his own self in his own shoes. You understand? What Dixon can do, we have nobody else can do that. Dixon, if you start him, you're going to get the same Dixon. If you take him off the bench, you're going to get the same Dixon. Dixon is just that player. Again, based upon yourself. I would grade. Look, I think it was a better overall performance, and I think it was a better team structure around, but still far away. And I still need a lot more from the gaffer. Yeah, Steve McLaren, I need a lot more from Steve McLaren, in terms of getting his blueprint on this team, getting this team organized as properly as possible. Look, the midfield is awful. Yeah. How long we are going to say, look, the midfield is awful? I don't know, man. And this problem is not just Steve McLaren problem. You will say it is Tapa problem. It was Tapa problem. It was Paul Hall problem. Even though a lot of people could say, we see a little bit of improvement under, Paul Hall, but Alf Grimson, it was a Alf Grimson problem. It was a Schaefer problem. So again, many coaches came in and tried to fix the midfield balance, but it just cannot fix. But I think at this moment, we're just going to have to find a structure that it's just going to have to fit and have to fit the criteria of the players that we have in that midfield areas. So again, man, we just so unlucky that we are nowhere near the other two groups in this World Cup qualifier, because if we did have at least one Central American team, it would have been chaos in our group to get out as the top group, as a top leader, as the group leader in the team to qualify for the FIFA World Cup. So again, man, we just have to ride with our luck. We just have to just accept what it is, that the reggaeboyz is in a Caribbean zone with Bermuda, Curacao and Trinidad and Tobago, and we are just the favorite. God bless us who put us in this group so we can prevail to have our national team playing in that FIFA World Cup coming up next year. But again, man, people, thanks for stopping by. See you guys later again. Ciao.